After winning via knockout recently, British fighter Sahanna Marshall has set up a potential fight with American superstar Claressa Shields. The pair recently went head-to-head in the ring following Marshall's win over Belgian fighter Femke Hermans, before being separated by security. And now it's thought that the pair could meet in the ring later this year. So today, we're going to be discussing if this potential bout is the biggest in female boxing history. So stay tuned. First up, what have the two been up to recently? As we've mentioned, Marshall was last out at the beginning of this month, blowing through Femke Hermans inside 3 rounds to extend her unbeaten record of 12-0. Having turned pro in 2017, she actually holds a win over Claressa Shields in the amateurs and has since reiterated her desire to fight Shields again in the pro ranks, to prove to any doubters her amateur win was no fluke. Shields, on the other hand, has actually been dabbling in MMA recently, but returned to the squared circle earlier this year, scoring her 8th unanimous decision win in a row, defeating Slovenian fighter Emma Kosin. Last year, she tried her hand at MMA, competing in the PFL, and in 2 fights so far, she's won 1 and lost 1. So there's a little bit more work here to do to conquer the world of mixed martial arts, that is anyways. She trains alongside UFC fighters such as Holly Holm and Michelle Watterson over at Jackson Wink MMA in Albuquerque, New Mexico. It's thought that following both ladies winning recently and both holding perfect 12-0 records, the time for them to face off against each other again is now, and it's been suggested that the pair will go head-to-head later this year. So what have you guys thought about the two ladies' professional careers so far? Let us know in the comment section below. Next up, is this the biggest female fight out there? Stay with us here. Of course, with the Amanda Serrano versus Katie Taylor fight set to take place at the end of the month, there's been some doubt as to whether or not the Shields versus Marshall fight will be viewed as a bigger fight. But having both won recently, it sets up the narrative a little more for what promises to be a barn burner. And the interest in this one is already pretty substantial, especially given the pair's history, with Marshall's holding that win from the amateurs over Shields. Marshall handed her first and only loss back in 2012, and then 10 years later, Shields is still bitter over that result, which was evident when she entered the ring after Marshall's latest knockout win over Femke Hermans. The previous bout had been the catalyst for one of the biggest rivalries in female boxing, and for that reason, this is probably the biggest fight that can possibly be made in the women's ranks. Both fighters have been virtually untouchable since turning pro, but Marshall is one woman who's caused her problems during her career, so of course, this would be the one fight to make in the division. Had the pair not met, and if there was no history and bad blood between them, we highly doubt that this one would generate much more interest than Taylor vs Serrano bout, but it would definitely still be one to watch. So who do you guys see coming out on top on this one? Shields has been commenting on her status as the GWOAT recently, so yeah, stick around. Of course, there are a number of other female fighters who might dispute claims that Shields is the greatest woman fighter of all time, including her nemesis, Sahanna Marshall, and Irish superstar Katie Taylor. But nonetheless, she was talking about it recently. She herself claims that she is the best woman to ever lace up gloves, and the Michigan native, who was also represented at the United States at the Olympic Games, recently said, "I am Claressa, the GWOAT Shields. The it factor with me comes from genuinely loving boxing, and it's lovely to meet you, Claressa." She went on to say that, "And when I say I love boxing, I not only love to train and box and win, but I'm actually a fan of boxing. So when it comes to what people want to see, I resemble that, and I feel like I am the Shia Ali, the female version of Muhammad Ali, a boxer who loves boxing." What a strange concept, right? She went on to reveal how she has 100% belief in her skills, quote unquote, coming from the bottom, and she also said that she didn't begin talking until she was 5 years old and didn't have a proper conversation until she was around 13 or 14. She then went on to say that she had to watch her mom battle alcoholism, but a belief in herself and in God helped her through her early struggles. So who do you think is the GWOAT? Let us know below. Claressa has also weighed in on the upcoming Taylor vs Serrano bout, so stay tuned. The self-proclaimed GWOAT has also been discussing the keys to victory for the upcoming Katie Taylor vs Amanda Serrano fight on April 30th and the DAZN event, which will be live from Madison Square Garden and promises to rewrite history for women's boxing. Shields, who was discussing the bout earlier this month, said, "Amanda Serrano needs to go in there and impose her will on Katie Taylor. Don't go and box with Katie Taylor," suggesting that Taylor's boxing skills are better than Serrano's. Shields went on to describe Taylor as a slick operator, but did suggest that she sometimes struggles against pressure fighters. Shields went on to reference the Delphine Persoon and the Jessica McCaskill bouts, who both took the fights to Taylor, but the Irish fighter managed to overcome both challenges. She alluded to the fact that Serrano is a better fighter than both of these women, so if she can mimic what they did against Taylor, that'd be her best chance. And Shields also revealed that for Taylor to come out on top, she needs to avoid Serrano's power and to go to Amanda Serrano's body, as if you don't take the wind out of her, she can punish you with that power. She summed it up all by saying, "So 1, she needs to go to the body, keep that speed speed, keep that skill, and never stand in front of her. And I believe she could get the win. Before predicting that Serrano wins via split decision. Who do you think comes out on top in this one? And Michaela Meyer has had her say on the potential Shields vs. Marshall fight. So with the pair set to potentially meet after this year, another big name from the women's boxing world has stopped by to have her say on who comes out on top. The women's super featherweight champ has predicted that her fellow countrywoman, Shields, is going to come out on top once the pair do battle, and it is thought it's only a matter of time until the fight gets announced. Meyer, who has a professional record of 17-0, acknowledged that she could come across as biased, seeing as both women hail from the same country. But she said, although Sahanna has proven to have power, I think Claressa's punch count and speed is a lot for anyone at that weight to handle. Before going on to say that she sees her coming out on top, quote unquote, and that she'll definitely be there to throw her support behind Shields. Meyer, who was last out earlier this month in a unanimous win over Jennifer Hahn, went on to say, just her ferociousness when she gets in the ring. She doesn't like to lose and has a chip on her shoulder because Sahanna is the only one to ever beat her. She finished off by predicting that we might get to see a different Chelsea Shields, which would be a scarier version of the one we're used to. Big talk indeed by Meyer, but do you agree with her? Let us know your thoughts down below. And finally, Sahanna has had her say, so stay tuned. Speaking before her most recent knockout win over Femke Hermans, Hartlepool's own, Sahanna Marshall has claimed that no one in the world can beat her. And Shields, who was present at the fight, was clearly unimpressed, as she said after the fight that she doesn't want any excuses if the pair meets later this year, and that Marshall should bring her A-game. Marshall went on to say, it is what it is. She knows what I can do. I'm not out to impress her, which is fair enough, to be honest. And she doesn't have to impress her, as she is the only woman to hold a win over Shields. Marshall addressed the fact that everyone's been speaking about Claressa for the past 4 to 5 years, and that she views the American as just another person in the background. She referenced her tunnel vision, and also appeared to throw shade at Shields by claiming that Femke Hermans was going to be the toughest fight of my career to date, quote unquote. So, what do you make of Sahanna's words? Let us know below. I demand your engagement. Oh, and that's the end of the video, pretty much. Anyways, thanks for dropping by, and remember to stop by the next time you want to enjoy yourself and get that dopamine you so desperately need. Anyways, why not do us a solid and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on any stuff we make for you. Later, guys. Stuff we make for you.